There's still debate, and I think the whole anti-aging field, even though there are all these markers and symptoms of aging, they still haven't been able to label aging as a disease. What's funny is that aging is like a comorbidity. So, okay, you have diabetes, but part of it is also because of the process of aging, because the fact that you're aging, you have higher inflammation in your body, less of a balance, and less stem cells to replace the damaged tissue. So all these things are symptoms of aging.
What's the difference between what they do in China with healthcare versus what you've seen here in America?
Yeah, so Chinese, obviously, it's the biggest population in the world, and they didn't have Western medicine, right? So was India. The Eastern medicine system had worked pretty well. Of course, it has its own limitations when it comes to acute diseases. Big infections or injuries. It has its own limitations. But as far as keeping people healthy and keeping them balanced in a balanced state, I think both cultures have done a great job. And so in China, that's always part of the tradition. And Chinese medicine doctors have always been very revered. And then there comes, Western medicine, which are very much respected as well. So there are two medical systems. There are people who go into Chinese medicine or go into Western medicine. But people who go into Chinese medicine also have to learn the whole Western medicine system. In the big hospital, they will have, all the usual departments of Western medicine, ophthalmology, ENT, surgery. So they have these different departments, but they will also have a department called Chinese medicine. So this is all in the big hospital. And then you have the pharmacy, and the pharmacy will have Chinese medicine, Western medicine, depending on what doctors are giving you. So at my home is very much a egalitarian system when it comes to medicine. So medications are all thrown in, one big drawer. They're antibiotics, they're, anti-inflammatories, and there are all these Chinese herbal, concoctions. So everything is all intermingled together, and it's always kind of fun. When I get a little discomfort and some problems, I will tell my mom my symptoms, and my mom will make her diagnosis and then go into the drawer and grab whatever that she thinks is appropriate. So sometimes it's Western medicine, sometimes it's Chinese medicine. So it was always respect for both. So that was just kind of the atmosphere that I grew up in. So when I first came to this culture, came to the US, that was in early 90s. I remember just talking about even something like acupuncture, people weren't accepting. Like they think I'm, like you can tell in people's faces that they think you're a little out there. So I learned to just leave it alone. And what's interesting is that there's more and more acceptance. I think, like any of the new medicine that comes along, you call it new, but it's newly accepted. It's really driven by results. So it's not going to be able to take hold if it cannot produce results. It's only because people are getting great benefits. More and more are getting benefits because there's limitation in Western medical approach. It's not solving the problem. So when one person gets great results, tell their friends, and things just spread like that. So it's fascinating for me to witness that. Even when I was in medical school, that was 1999. I remember having a conversation with this MD PhD student, very smart guy, and then I just mentioned acupuncture, and he said, there has been still no evidence that acupuncture actually works. I said, really? Have you looked at how much published results are out there? And granted, a lot of these publications were in Chinese, but there are reams and reams of them. So just because it's not in your language doesn't mean that it's non-existent. So there were some rigorous studies because Chinese wanted to know, how does this work? And does it really work? Why does it work? So even from then, this is 20 years ago, there's huge transformation of people's acceptance of something like acupuncture. Now acupuncture is okay. It's not crazy anymore. So it's interesting. And I see that same thing is true for a lot of these now what's called alternative therapies. including lots of herbal therapies, some new treatments, hyperbaric, ozone therapy, and and stem cell therapy. So all these things, I think, again, are driven by results. You're getting
Absolutely.
results. Yeah, you're getting results. So people want it. That's why I call it a grassroots movement, because people, their needs are driving the forward motion of the acceptance of these treatments.
Which is so important, especially because we know this medical system, this healthcare, which is really sick here in America, it just doesn't work. And one of the quotes, you kind of just said it, but I had it in my notes. When they say there's no evidence, they're not looking at the evidence, which is exactly what happened with your college mate back in the day. Now, speaking of rules that don't make sense that you want to break, the conventional medical system is kind of similar to those rules that we need to break. You have a great analogy on what's happening in the body with a symptom and a fire in a house and how conventional medicine
Oh,
looks at that.
yeah.
Could you share that?
Yes. So I think, people, there's still debate. And I think the whole anti-aging field, even though there are all these markers and symptoms of aging, they still haven't been able to label aging as a disease. And what's funny is that aging is like a comorbidity. So it's okay, you have diabetes, but part of it is also because of the process of aging, or you have osteoarthritis. And part of it is you comorbidly are aging, because the fact that you're aging, which reduces, first of all, you have higher inflammation in your body, have a less of a balance and vigorous, vigor in your immune system, and of course, you have less stem cells to replace the damaged tissue, and so there are actually a lot. Your mitochondria go downhill, straight line. So all these things are symptoms of aging. So when we talk about aging, people somehow, throughout the centuries have accepted, okay, aging is just part of human living, and but it's that, yes, we're all gonna, we're all heading for damage and death. That's true, but how you age, there's a big difference. Some people will have a heart attack and die. Some people will live to their late 90s, happily go around, riding bicycle, walking to grocery stores, and then they fall asleep and then they drift away. So there are drastically different ways of living and dying. So which way do you want your life to be? So my analogy is that aging is kind of like, if you look at the body as a house. So from the outside, you look at the house, you maybe things are okay, but if the house is catching on fire, let's say a disease is brewing, which could be part of the changes of aging. People don't see anything going on the outside, but when the fire started, you don't just start, with big fire, right? You start somewhere. You start smoldering. You start, this brewing fire. Things going on before you can see anything on the outside. So when the smoke start to come out of the window, that's when we actually are seeing some kind of symptoms. But before the symptoms is emerging, things are happening to prepare you for the symptoms. And that's what we need to pay attention to. How can we prevent the house from catching on fire in the first place? And that's what I think is the beauty of the anti-aging, or the whole integrated medicine, is to optimize the system so you're never going to catch on fire, that you're always keeping things at a balanced state. So once the fire is on, then there's gonna be a lot of damage. Yeah, you can put out the fire, but guess what? There's damage. There's carpet's burned. Your structure probably if it's really bad, the house can burn down. So
It's a great analogy, and it makes so much sense. There's symptoms, but the symptoms are not necessarily the problem. They're a result of the problem. So we want to get to the cause of those symptoms. So where allopathic medicine fails most of the time is only focusing on the after effect of the symptom, but what caused it? It could be so far removed. It could be so upstream, so downstream. So what you do and what functional medicine practitioners do is looking at the causes of those symptoms. And then you take care of the cause, and then, oh, it's like magic. The symptoms go away. How cool is that?
I kind of look at it as the original intelligence of who we are. That's the essence of us. So within each stem cell contains this full package of the intelligence that actually made us being a human possible. So because we all came from a single stem cell. So just look at us. We're all from a single stem cell. So from that single stem cell, it was able to divide and multiply and and transform and migrate and forming this incredible geometry, and then this this and complex tissue and organ systems, and then a full human being. So that is pure magic. I think, we still don't understand how that happens, right? We, as humans, we don't know how to create a cell. That life is so powerful, so mysterious. We don't know how to make. We can bring it from a life, from a life itself. We can get a cell from a live animal, but we don't know how to create it. So there's incredible power and intelligence that we don't know how to explain yet. No one, you can be an, embryologist, you can know how the embryo is formed, but you don't know why and how. And it's so complex, it's mind-boggling. So the single stem cell have so much potential, but with each stem cell will, that original stem cell will divide into many, many stem cells. And as they keep dividing, they lose certain potentials. But then there's still stem cells. The stem cells we use these days are much further down the line, right? We're not using embryonic stem cells. Those are extremely powerful, contains, wild potentials. That's why they could cause teratoma. But when it's further down the line, it still contains a lot of information, but it's not going to fully express everything there is. So it has limited expression. So it becomes very complex. When people say stem cells, I think there's this very it's a little bit of a maybe naive view of what stem cells are, as if stem cell is a stem cell, but stem cells is not a stem cell. There's so many kinds and so many functions. So that's one thing that I think people should know, that they're just because you're getting stem cell treatment, depending on where it came from, or how it's made, it's drastically different. Yeah, so you got to be careful what you're getting.
Yeah. So talk more about that. I know that you said in the past that you get stem cells treatment on yourself about every 3 months. Why do you do that? And what are the sources of the stem cells that you use on yourself?
So when I first found out about stem cell therapy, and that was 5 years ago, and reading about what they could do, and then also just seeing what it done to other people that I know, and also for my patients, I just thought this is too great. I am off of venture spirit, so I thought I really wouldn't mind having this experiment on myself, because I see the signs, I see what they can do. I think I want to do this anti-aging treatment, and of course initially people were doing stem cell therapy more looking at therapeutic potentials. They were looking at treating particular conditions. And then later on, more data came out, more studies came out actually looking at potential capabilities of these cells to prolong life and extend health span, right? Making people living much more, vibrantly, or, they were doing studies on animals, on rats and mice, and realizing that this simple stem cell infusion can actually extend their lifespan by about 30%. And not only that, it preserves their physical capabilities, their mental capacities, and it just, there's, a lot of evidence. So I'm kind of glad I did that. While I was doing it, a little bit, kind of at the time, 5 years ago, a little bit of a, kind of science experiment on myself, because I know how safe it is. So it's a calculated risk, right? It's educated risk. So I didn't really. I thought, okay, maybe I'll just try to stop the aging process, or see if this just keep me, at my current state. So I was 45, and I didn't you know, being Asian, I guess people say, oh, you don't, you age well. But now when I look back at my pictures, I definitely saw a lot of aging going on. Overworked, and I wasn't taking the kind of holistic approach to my health. I didn't have all the tools, so I was well on my way with the aging process. And then after I started doing stem cells, initially was my neighbor who's making comments saying, hey, what's going on, you're looking younger and younger. So this is about a year after I started doing stem cells, and I didn't really know that it made any big difference. I thought, I'm just, I'm doing well, I'm healthy, I'm good. But it was other people who started to make comments saying that I'm looking younger and younger. So, and then I started looking at pictures, and then I wasn't choosing, to look at my own pictures. It was Facebook, who keeps sending me happy anniversary photos. And that's when I thought, oh boy, I can't believe I posted that picture. I look horrible. And so that's when I thought, oh my goodness, have I changed? Have I gone backward in age? So that was, that wasn't my goal. I just wanted to not age. I wasn't thinking about getting younger. So that was kind of a fun thing. So now I definitely have a lot of patients who are doing that, and they all love it. They can't wait for their next treatment. So I had people, do it, either every 6 months, or, some more aggressive ones would do it every 2 months. So they know what it does for their body and for their mind, and they feel fantastic, and people make comments that they're looking great. So that's the whole, if you can prevent the aging process, then you prevent the whole cascade to disease. So that's what, you can avoid a lot of suffering.
Yeah, that's super cool. So your photos started to look younger, recent photos versus older photos. Your neighbors were making comments about you, and it's obviously that visually you're anti-aging, you're looking younger. Now, are you also testing the cellular age and other methods like telomeres, DNA methylation? Like, what are some ways that you kind of look at the age of the cells?
I need to, yeah, I really need to. I'm actually looking at, I'm still not convinced which one is the best method. I've been talking with, different doctors and scientists, about this. So I've yet to settle down on one that I can trust, because I do want to bring that in clinic to quantify, but I'm just not convinced. There are a lot of methods. There's, the telomeres, or DNA methylation methods. There's VO2 max, and there's the, the CRP. There's just various tools, but I'm not convinced which one works well. So I just, right now I'm just going with what I look like. So it sounds funny, but I tell people what you look like. What's on the outside, your face, is reflection of what's inside. That's why Chinese medicine, they look at your tongue, they look at your complexion, they do a lot of diagnosis from just your face, your eyes, what's going on external, that what you can see. The thing is, when people age, I tell them that you may look in the mirror and saw some wrinkles, and you're like, oh geez, I've aged. But what you don't think about is all the wrinkling that's going on in your liver, in your heart, in your lungs, in your bones. They're all going on. All you can see is the face, but you've got to take care of everything. The face is a reflection.
That's such a great point. No, you're so right. I love that point. The face is a reflection, and I agree with you. There's not really something that I've settled on in terms of testing cellular age as well. It's there's too many variables that I've seen as well. When you talk about stem cells, you do treatment at your clinic. Could you explain a little bit more the name of your clinic, where it's located, and then also what is this treatment like for those who have no idea what stem cell treatment is?
So I'm in the greater Los Angeles area. So I'm in the San Fernando Valley. So the way I do the treatment is, first of all, a very comprehensive evaluation that they have to fill out this form, asking everything about their history. And then I actually work with our naturopathic doctor, who will go over their entire history. And then when they come to the clinic, we'll do labs, comprehensive laboratory testing, and then will address, whatever deficiencies that's going on, either nutritional deficiencies or, hypersensitivity to various food or chemicals, and their microbiome health and their hormonal balance. Just so there's a whole complexity of why a person is not optimal. And so in the meantime, we have pre-stem cell treatment recommendations where there are, lifestyle changes I want them to make and supplements I want them to take to optimize results. And then they will come to the clinic and do the treatment. And a lot of times we combine other treatment modalities to even further enhance the benefits, such as stem cell therapy or NAD therapy. So it's a very comprehensive wraparound treatment, and depending on what kind of issues they want help with. So if they want if they have autoimmune conditions, they have COPD, a lot of these are systemic conditions. I use the intravenous route, but if they have some local issues like joint problems or just surface hair restoration, facial rejuvenation, so some kind of a local tissue, that's more on the exterior, then I can do direct local injections. And then we do all kinds of injections in the musculoskeletal system, including joints and back. So I always tell people that when you have osteoarthritis, this is not really a wear and tear disease. It's a disease of your body not being able to keep up with repair. So if you have damage and sports injury and your body fixes itself, then you're done. But if you have chronic, unrelenting, this ache and pain and stiffness, and that's your body constantly inflamed. And this is a systemic issue, is your whole body not able to mobilize repair. And in those cases, I help enhance the body by doing intravenous therapy. And then for larger joints like the knee, the hip and shoulder, etc., I will do local injections because you need the cells to be delivered locally because they're within the large joints that there's very little blood exchange. So we, depending on what they need, we, we'll devise a appropriate program for them.
What's your website for those who are listening who want to check you out? Maybe they're in Los Angeles or they want to travel there. What's your website?
Yeah, so our clinic is called Thea Center for Regenerative Medicine. That's THEA. So it's just THEACRM.com. But we are in the process of changing our website. We're kind of expanding our clinic into, what we, is subsuming this regenerative portion into Uplift Longevity Center. So that's coming up, Uplift with an Y.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's coming up.
Awesome. We'll put your website in the podcast notes so everybody could go check it out. Is it fair to say that you could meet somebody and look at them and say, and know that person needs some stem cells just by looking at the person?
Some more than others, definitely. Yeah. Okay. But honestly, I would say if you're over age at least 35, if not 30, because we know, 25, we're starting to go downhill, but let's just say 35. That's when most people notice changes, of their physiologically, they're not as, kind of in tip-top shape as they were in their 20s. At least, above 35, I would say everybody above 35 should, can benefit from stem cells. That's no question. And even when they're older, when they think, oh my God, maybe it's too late, I'm in my late 70s, is this going to benefit? Yes, the research supports it. Even, they've done this research. It is really fun. I love this research someone have done. They give these rats that's at the human equivalent age of 75. So in rats' age, I think was like 20 months or something. So in human equivalent age, it's 75 years old. So these are old rats. They look old, they move old, and they start giving them stem cells. And what's interesting is that so there's a group that did not get stem cells and the group that got stem cells. So imagine these, kind of human 75-year-old, rats. The rats that got stem cells lived from the time they got cells to the time they died was 3 times as long as the rats that did not get stem cells.
Wow.
So basically, you tripled the time you remain on Earth. And not only they live much longer, they're moving better. Their fur it's got shinier, and then their mental capacities. They're running around the maze. They're able to figure things out. They basically extended their time of being vibrant, and then they die. So
Yeah.
we're all gonna die.
Yeah, we can't escape that. At least not yet.
The key is quality, right? How can we
Yes.
enhance quality? Have a great time while you're here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that study's interesting because that was 3 times the extension of their lifespan with older rats. Was it rats or mice? I forget.
I think it's rats. Yeah.
Rats. Yeah. So, I mean, they were older. So imagine being younger and being proactive with this, like we're speaking about here. Now,
Well, they've done for younger rats, so like middle aged, and that they definitely showed 30% extension of lifespan. Yeah.
amazing. So, what are some natural, besides getting the actual treatment, which is a great idea if you're over the age of 30, what are some maybe other ways we can do it on a day-to-day basis? What role does fasting or extended fasting play with stem cell production, getting rid of senescent cells? Have you looked at any of that?
Yeah, I think fasting definitely is a powerful tool. So I do intermittent fasting. I mean, I'm still fasting, actually before our call, I was
Nice.
like really hungry, but you know what? I'm gonna handle it. So I do intermittent fasting. I don't eat before noon every day. So at least 16 hours of fast. I think is a very powerful way of getting your body to be more resilient. And of course, what you eat, that's the absolute foundation. Let food be thy medicine, right? I think it's absolutely true. I mean, there's such power in what you put in your body. So, everybody needs to really, really respect this incredible kind of vessel that we are gifted to, and put the right things in the body. So that itself is probably one of the most powerful things. Like when people are looking at losing weight, they think it's 70% diet, maybe 30% of exercise. So people used to think exercise, but now we know the role of exercise is much smaller than the role of diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. So eat clean, eat whole foods, practice intermittent fasting. Let's say you were in an elevator and you had 45 seconds to explain to somebody in that elevator, a stranger, what exactly the process of aging is so they could really understand it. What would be that 45-second elevator pitch?
The process aging is that first of all, you're running out of stem cells. So you're running out of the engine to repair damage, because being alive means getting damage. Just breathing, creates, these free radicals, and that can damage your cells and DNA. So just sheer fact of being alive, you're constantly getting damaged. As long as you have enough cells to replace what's damaged, then you're good. So that's one fundamental thing about aging, is that you're running out of stem cells, because they get damaged too. But along with that, you are constantly getting damaged, right? You can injure yourself, but you can also, just by breathing in toxins or just breathing, you're running out of healthy cells that can give you the right amount of hormones, can detox your body correctly, and basically that's just you're functioning, you're declining mitochondria, you're losing mitochondria, everything is getting older. So yeah, I would say this is why I'm so passionate about stem cells, because I know all the other things are very powerful. They're all really important, but I look at stem cells as the engine to the body, like the engine for the car. So if you don't have engine, you're not going to get anywhere. But the engine also needs fuel, and that's everything else we're doing. Good diet, exercise, fasting. The supplements are the right fuel for the body. But eventually, if they can feed the engine, if they can keep the engine healthy, then whatever damage you make, you're going to be replenished. So you've got to have the engine. That's like the fundamental. So I think one day stem cell therapy is just going to be so basic, such a basic part of medicine that you take some stem cells to prevent you from declining, keep you from getting sick. But if you do get sick, because we invariably we can catch something, then or we injure ourselves, get some stem cells. It's going to make you heal so much faster, so much more completely, and and I have people who are doing surgeries before surgery. They have to do surgeries. They get surgeries, but before surgery or right after, they would get a stem cell treatment, and they heal 3 times as fast. So one day, just like people were given antibiotics for surgery, right? That you prevent something bad from happening, and in the future, we're going to give stem cells, to speed up healing process and to prevent infection. I mean, the stem cells have a lot of functions. Antimicrobial is one of them. So it's just going to be part of the foundation. But coming back to the aging, I think we've got, if we can replenish, replace the engine, or upgrade your engine, then you can kind of really slow down this train of aging.
Well said. And I could see how much you love talking about it. You just light up and get so excited speaking about the topic. It's it's like stem cells are where acupuncture was 20 to 30 years ago, where it was kind of like, what
Yes.
is that? To now acupuncture is all over the place. So that's what you're saying. Hopefully stem cells will get there even sooner
Yeah.
than what
Well,
happened with
the beauty,
acupuncture.
stem cells has one advantage for people to accept stem cells. And that's what I find fascinating, is that for stem cells, the allopathic doctors, it's much easier to accept it, right? Because it came from Western medicine. There's a very, very scientific, this kind of origin to it. So they know, and there's rigorous studies. So they know that this is not some Eastern, they don't consider it, foo-foo. So they think that this is solid. So it's easier for them to adopt. And then for integrated doctors, they love it. This, like, you're bringing out the natural healing intelligence of the body. You're infusing something that's so holistic and have so many ways of helping the body. So for them, that's yes, that fits into our philosophy. So it's actually easily acceptable by both worlds. But the inertia in any profession, and especially something as patriarchal as medicine, and then with as much existing vested interest in current establishment. So all these are serving as obstacles to the acceptance. But it's coming. I mean, I laugh, seeing all these restrictions and all the fights that's going on. It's like, well, I just wait.
It's awesome. Yeah, well, you're doing a good part getting the message out and the research and serving your community. What are 3 must-have supplements to help support cellular function that you take and you recommend?
Definitely, vitamin D. I think everyone knows that it's so essential, and so many people have a lacking of it. And omega-3 is really important, and I think there are various new forms of omega-3 coming on. Personally, I really do not like the fish oil. I really don't like taking it. I don't like the taste, and it worries me, because if you have this fish burp, then you probably, it's probably oxidized, and it makes me worry. Am I hurting myself, or am I benefiting myself? But it's true, omega-3 is really important. So I still put that up there, but you have to find the right form. And personally, I really like fulvic acid. I mean, it's a strange name, and they call it acid, but it's a huge, this a combination of minerals and kind of antioxidants, right? Everything in one, and that came from natural, degrading organic matters. That's going to go back to the earth. So I really like it because it's so comprehensive, and I put that in my kitty's food. My cat. I thought, I don't know how they produce these cat food. I'm buying the best possible, but I don't know if what they put in the food have enough nutrients, because nowadays, modern day, there's just not enough nutrients in our food. So I think fulvic acid is probably underutilized, and I hope more people use it, because there's some incredible results.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love that you shared that. I use fulvic acid as well, and I put it in my dog's water.
Oh,
I put it in,
yay!
yeah, I put it in my, the problem with putting it in my dog's water is that he drinks it and then he spills it all over my tile, and then there's these black spots all over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he
Oh, you
likes to
got
slobber,
sloppiness.
right? He's a big boy, that's why. And then I put it in my coffee, but then it makes my teeth black, and I gotta brush my teeth right away. But yeah, I think it's great for oxygenation in the body. Vitamin D is so important, like you mentioned. I live in Miami, and I look at lab work of so many people, and they're still deficient in vitamin D
Is
because,
that right?
yeah, well, insulin and vitamin D have like this inverted relationship. So if you don't do the work to keep insulin down, you could keep taking all the vitamin D, but it won't get to the point where you want it to get. Fish
Hmm.
oil, Doc, I've done a lot of research on fish oil, and I've interviewed a lot of brilliant minds on fish oil, and I've come to the conclusion, at least for now, that I stay away from it. To your point, most of it
Yeah.
is already rancid. So I just say eat the fish, or even take these parent essential oils that are giving you kind of like the derivatives for your body to make its own EPA and DHA. So I love the suggestion. I think more important than getting the omega 3s up is eliminating the bad omega 6s. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's tricky. That's
It
tricky.
is tricky
Like,
because they're
personally, I love
everywhere.
nuts, but I know most nuts have very high omega-6, but I
Yeah,
can't. I'm
but
staying away.
what I mean, but that's fine. Like eating foods that have those omega 6s are fine. But I'm talking about like the canola, cottonseed oils, the adulterated omega 6 is what I
Oh,
mean. Like get rid of those is what I mean.
oh
Yeah,
boy, toxins. Yeah, read your labels because
yeah,
yeah, the labels, that's the final straw. They can make the package look really healthy and really
I
enticing. You
know.
think you're getting something really good for yourself.
Yeah,
And then you realize,
especially
oh, I just bought some poison.
especially in the keto space. You see like keto friendly, non-GMO, but like to your point, you got to read the ingredients because they are so good at marketing. Don't let them fool you.
I
Um,
know.
you have a book on Amazon, which is titled "The Tiger of Beijing: The Inspirational Memoir of a Fierce Regenerative Medicine Physician." So, share a little bit about why you wrote the book and what is it about.
Yeah. So I know actually some of my patients read it. They're like, Dr. Kong, I thought you were going to talk about how you became, where you are now. I said, yeah, that's going to be in the second book. I am a fierce regenerative medicine physician, but this book is about a very distinct story, very, very dramatic transitional time in my life. It's about 3 years of my life of how from this who really, yes, my dad was a professor, but we had no money, we had no connections. We're just, I'm just one of the, 1.3 billion Chinese. And I had a dream to come to the United States, but I had every card stacked against me. I didn't know how. So from that, to actually make it happen, with the first chapter being me standing in front of the American embassy and getting my visa rejected. So this is after 18 months of relentless hard work and breaking rules, sneaking into libraries, to get what I needed. And I got rejected. So what do you do? I mean, that's a huge, that was one of the biggest obstacles in my life and seemingly impossible. Here, this country that's very strictly controlled, and there's just bureaucracy, to the yin yang. And then I was facing a powerful country that's making it very difficult to enter. They have lots of restrictions, and I think at the time was 1 in 10 students who are applying who actually were able to get a visa. So that's I was, I had to, when I realized I was rejected, then I had to figure out a way. So it's about determination and a little bit of, this tiger, or you can call it bullheadedness, just going for it. However, it's going to happen. So, what I did was unconventional. It was actually fueled by anger that somebody has so much say over how I can live my life. And I rebelled. I said, no, you're not going to prevent me. And so it was a very interesting journey how I made it to the US. And then I spent my first 2 years in San Francisco, overcoming the next big hurdle, a very, very difficult situation personally. So that, and how to escape that, and how to come out and intact in a way. There was definitely damages done, but still coming out triumphant. It's like a soldier going to battle. Yes, you got some wounds, you got some, injuries. Hey, you won the battle. So that's kind of where I was at. And what I was going to talk about in my next book is that this wounded soldier, who just won a battle, is going to go for, the bigger battle in life, which is achieve true happiness. How to achieve it? Achieve full healing, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. So that's a long journey. But this first book is a story. Actually, initially when I first wrote it, I wrote it in a novel form. I didn't really want to make it a memoir, because I wanted to write a story, because it was a great story. And then I was like, screw this. This is my story. This is me. This is who I am. That's it. It's my story. So that's how how it came about.
Very cool. It's a remarkable story. So that's super awesome. I'm glad you wrote it, and it's going to be a great book for like your future kids and grandkids to read and learn about your story. Super cool. You've seen, living in China for 20 years, you've seen the restriction that was happening over there, and then coming to America, the land of the free. I'm somebody I was born here in America. My parents actually immigrated here in the 1970s from Iran, which is another country where there's a lot of restrictions. So I am so blessed, and I'm so grateful that I was born in this amazing country to be able to do what I love to do, and have the freedom to choose to do that. So on that note, what are some of the things that you're grateful for to be in America, seeing how it was in China and being here? Like, do you feel like this is the greatest country in the world? Like, what is your love for America right now?
I'm very grateful for America. I do feel like I belong here. So personally, our personal style, chemistry, how we, just how we are as a person. I know personally it flows better here. My personality fits better. I'm a very open, very straightforward person, and very warm. I'm able to express my emotions. I can give hugs freely. It just feels really good. So I felt kind of constricted in China. But I think each country is almost like a person. You have your distinct personality, you have your strengths and your weaknesses. I love America's strength. And actually, I think there's a huge love affair between China and America. Despite whatever that's going on politically, I know the Chinese people love Americans. I remember since I was a kid, we were like watching World War II movies, and the American soldiers always giving the V sign, right? The Chinese kids, they just love it. They're so cool. Look at their chewing gums. And they just love the Americans. They just think they're, just cool people. And I know Americans, they love Chinese culture, love the Chinese people. I've heard a lot of people who've been to China. They love the Chinese. So, but everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. I think China's weakness was that they're too conformist. It's very judgmental culture, highly competitive. So, when you're so competitive and so judgmental, then you're not nurturing this individuality of each person. You're not appreciating a person's unique strengths. You want them to be a certain way because you all want to compete for certain positions and get to certain spots in life. So there's more judgment. So I'm more appreciated for who I am uniquely here. And I love that. I'm very, very grateful. And the opportunities allows that there's these mechanisms in place. I came here, I was penniless. I absolutely no money. And then I was in San Francisco State. I thought, okay, instead of borrowing loans, which itself is fantastic, the government can lend loans to students so they can actually get education, and you can apply to any university you want and they might accept you. Like that's not that wasn't really not part of the system in China. It's a whole other system. So here you can choose what you want to study, what university you want to go to, and what class you want to take. So when I tried, I was thinking, what can I do to not have so much debt? So I looked into scholarships. Granted, that particular scholarship was for minorities, and I didn't exactly, because it was a little bit of that affirmative action, flavor, because it's for underprivileged minorities. So that's Hispanics, African Americans, Native Americans, and Pacific Islanders. So I didn't fit into any of those. But I was grateful that this one professor who's in charge of this scholarship, all these programs to nurture students, and he granted to me. I applied because they said, we can't discriminate. So we can't tell you not to apply, even though you didn't fit into the category. I said, I am a minority. I think I'm pretty underprivileged because I'm nobody in this country. So I applied, and he gave it to me because he believed in me. And then he actually got in trouble at NIH, where the money was given, and he stood up for me.
Wow.
Someone said, why did you give it to her? She's not, part of this, this particular category. She's, Chinese. And so I heard from another doctor who told me, another professor, that he slammed the table, he stood up, he said, you know what, this is the best student we have, and that she deserves this, and I have the Constitution behind me, so go ahead.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I know. So how amazing. I felt that there are people who really, really care. And so very, very lucky. Yeah, very grateful.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. That's an awesome share. Is that what you shared in chapter 2 of your book? Is that what you were referring to?
No.
Okay, something else that happened personal.
I'm not sure I even share the story in the
Oh,
book.
wow. Well, I'm glad we got it on the podcast. So thank you for sharing that. So we're going to put your website down below. Where else can we find you? I know you have a YouTube channel, so share that. Share your social media handles.
Please watch my YouTube channels, because I put a lot of these, 5 to 15-minute segments explaining different aspects of stem cell therapy that's rarely talked about. Actually, most of them, I don't see anybody that has covered it. Like is stem cell therapy in Panama better? What are the 3 stages of healing in stem cell therapy? What about, putting other people's DNA in my body? What's your thoughts about that? And what's the difference between stem cells and exosomes? What should I go for? So there are a lot of different, kind of niche questions that people are dying to know, but no one really have given them a good answer. So my channel is just Joy Kong MD. So just look up YouTube and just put my name in there. You will see all my videos, and you will really enjoy it.